Like I stated, man, I felt like the meeting wasn't going to go as well. They weren't going to get everything that they wanted. Hence that this meeting sounded like it went south. EPA statement regarding today's meeting, which lasted a couple hours, according to a union spokesperson, right? Now, I did see that this meeting lasted like 2 hours and some change. Maybe I saw Courtney Williams, Natisha Heidemann, they were talking about it, how it drained them. I think they had to go to the orange carpet.
The CBA meeting in Indiana just turned into a flaming hot mess and no one saw it coming. Tension? Off the charts. Drama? Served with extra spice. From players walking out to execs looking like they saw a ghost, this wasn't just a meeting. It was a meltdown. What went so horribly wrong behind those closed doors? And why is the internet now in full-blown conspiracy mode? Buckle up, because whatever happened in Indiana is about to shake the league.
CBA meeting that is taking place on Thursday in Indianapolis between the WNBA Players Union and the owners and WNBA leadership coming. This is huge news for what could be a make or break when it comes to the new CBA for the players. And some of the news that we have seen of late has not really been too favorable towards the players. It's been a lot of people.
The CBA meeting in Indiana was supposed to be a historic turning point. The WNBA, finally basking in the glow of mainstream media love, jersey sales, and Caitlin Clark-fueled viewership spikes, was going to sit down with its players and shape the future. What could go wrong? Apparently everything.
CBA meeting in Indianapolis. All right. Earlier today, the Women's National Basketball Players Association, WNBPA, and the Women's National Basketball Association met in person to discuss their ongoing negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement alongside WNBPA staff and our CBA advisory team. More than 40 players, including all-stars, executive committee members, and player representatives, attended the meeting. This marked the largest in-person player turnout in union history.
40 NBA players, not 4. Not 14, 40. They didn't just show up because the snacks were good or because Indiana is suddenly a hotspot for corporate synergy. They came armed with questions, concerns, and a very obvious group chat full of receipts. This wasn't just a meeting, this was a summit. A silent protest in sneakers and game day hoodies.
For anyone that's just fans of basketball, and these owners are not budging. They are not budging in any way. And with the owners not budging, it just does not seem likely that the players are going to get what they want. And I think people think, oh, the owners are going to make all this money because of the new TV deal.
So what did the league do with this once-in-a-generation display of unity and seriousness from the players? It pulled out a PowerPoint, a real one with transitions and charts and possibly a stock photo of a woman smiling next to the phrase, optimizing player synergy. The vibes went south faster than a rookie on a 10-day contract. Picture 40 players walking in expecting radical change and being greeted by executives who seemed more focused on buzzwords than benefit. The disconnect was brutal. These women weren't there for marketing slogans.
They met today and they appear no closer to coming together. The NBA owners are corporate enterprise business moguls, corporate enterprise business titans. The WNBA players are sole proprietors. And so when you look at that, and today was the biggest turnout of players, approximately 40 players attended the meeting. And the goal was to really see if we can come together, but the WNBA has said the owner's response fails to address the priorities that they've already voiced.
They wanted answers about travel, pay, healthcare, and how many more times they have to tweet about resilience before getting a charter flight. Let's talk about travel first, or as the league likes to frame it, enhanced mobility opportunities. Translation? You're still flying commercial, but we'll try really hard not to book you a middle seat between a toddler and a man eating a tuna sandwich. The players brought it up. Of course they did. After all, they're the ones sprinting from gate A15 to C99 with sore knees and back-to-backs ahead. What was the league's response? A vague promise about phased implementation and logistics assessments. You know it's bad when a room full of professional athletes collectively roll their eyes so hard it causes a solar eclipse. Then came the pay structure. The players wanted transparency, equity, and maybe a salary that doesn't require a second job in Turkey or a side hustle selling protein powder. What they got? A convoluted flow chart about performance incentives that looked suspiciously like the back of a cereal box. Somewhere in the middle, someone mentioned merit-based allocations, and that was when the first player allegedly stood up and said, "Nope."
The WNBPA, that is the Players Association, and the WNBA met today for CBA negotiations. Many of the players were in attendance, including Caitlin Clark, and the Players Association has officially put out a... So the WNBPA has chosen to opt out of the current CBA. Things have not been looking super positive. I know that players have been talking about a potential lockout, and when the words were first stated, I kind of brushed it off a little bit because it's always hard to know until you get to the table and you start negotiating how serious things are, how much either party is willing to budge.
Oh, and remember the big push about mental health and player wellness? Players hoped for licensed professionals, team therapists, maybe even a policy that didn't scream, "Please suffer quietly in the off-season." Instead, the league offered resource centers. Resource centers? You know, the vague thing you put in a brochure so it sounds like you're doing something. When asked if these would be mandatory or funded across all teams, the answer was a resounding shrug wrapped in PR language. 40 players came to Indiana. By the midpoint of the meeting, half were already texting their agents things like, "Get me out, this ain't it, and I'm about to throw this PDF across the room." The mood shifted fast. Some stayed silent, others started whispering. A few just straight up stopped pretending to pay attention. One even reportedly began doodling the word "no" in cursive on a notepad, like a bored teenager in algebra class. This was the rejection heard around the league. Not a strike, not yet, but a silent, coordinated, extremely powerful, "we're not buying it." The proposals? Soft. The answers? Vaguer than your uncle trying to explain crypto. The tone? Patronizing, like someone explaining a game plan to the people who actually play the game.
By now, Caitlin Clark has announced that she is going to be out for the All-Star game. She made a statement today to save people the time of waiting for the WNBA to make the announcement tomorrow at 7:30 that she would not be competing in the three-point contest or in the All-Star game this weekend. This is obviously a huge blow for the WNBA.
And then came the buzzkill moment of the day, revenue sharing. Players wanted numbers, hard numbers, something beyond the annual "we're investing in growth" bumper sticker. What they got instead was a long-winded speech about growth potential, future opportunities, and maybe something involving NFTs. Because nothing says "we value your labor" like blockchain nonsense. It wasn't just about money either. It was about dignity. You know, not having to use your own per diem to cover an Uber to the airport because your team bus left early, or not having to stretch on hotel conference room carpets because the gym got double booked by a wedding party, or not watching your male counterparts get multi-million-dollar media campaigns while you're editing your own highlight reel on Canva. The 40-player attendance was a message, the rejection even louder. This wasn't a few disgruntled players griping over dinner. This was a full-on internal uprising. The league thought it was holding a meeting. The players were staging a reckoning. And social media? Oh, it was carnage. Within hours, cryptic tweets started flying. "Interesting day. Do better. Not impressed." Fans picked up on the vibe real quick. Reddit threads were on fire, TikToks popped up with dramatic reenactments, memes exploded. One featured a player facepalming next to a caption that read, "When they call it a negotiation but bring you a TED Talk."
Another thing going on in the WNBA is the CBA negotiation. Now this is huge. A lot of girls that was eligible, a lot of women that was eligible to come out this year did not. They stayed in college for NIL money. What do you think about that? Waiting on the new CBA for the WNBA with all the new popularity.
Smart. Like somebody was in their ear, like telling them what they needed to hear. I mean, not even that. I ain't even gonna credit it to anybody else. I mean, it could have very well been their thing, but it's super smart. I mean, if you're legitimately making more. I mean, come on, man. These rookie salaries is like 78.
Even Liberty fans got involved. One posted, "I'd offer better benefits myself if they joined New York," which is cute and all, but also not helping. Indiana fans were less hopeful. "We were this close to being relevant. And now this?" Behind the scenes, team group chats turned into therapy sessions. Some rookies asked, "Is it always like this?" And the veterans responded with a heavy sigh and 3 whine emojis. Agents began talking about contingency plans, not strikes yet, but deadlines, leverage, pressure points. The WNBPA began drawing lines, soft ones but clear. Even the broadcast partners noticed something was off. Commentators, who usually drop PR-friendly lines like growth mindset and elevating women's sports, started asking questions live. Subtle but real. Something broke in Indiana. The worst part? The league seemed genuinely surprised. Like they walked into that room thinking they'd dazzle 40 professional athletes with graphs and promises of potential. As if these women haven't been grinding for years, flying coach, getting underpaid, and doing media tours between games. You can only smile and nod at buzzwords for so long before your neck starts hurting. And let's not forget the truly chaotic part. Someone had the audacity to suggest a review committee for player complaints, because when your building is on fire, nothing says "we hear you" like forming a committee to debate if fire is real.
Does not look like smooth sailing for these meetings. The players and league officials met today in Indianapolis, which is where the All-Star Game will be happening, and many were thinking that this was going to be a pivotal moment in the CBA negotiations. The meeting actually went a lot longer than it was supposed to. I believe it went at least 45 minutes longer than its intended ending. The current CBA expires in October of this year, so the date is looming. Now, there could be negotiations to extend this a bit, and if things are not resolved by then there will be a work stoppage where the WNBA players just
That moment, that was the mass psychological walkout. No one even needed to leave physically. Mentally, emotionally, existentially, they were gone, floating above the meeting, tweeting, "Not again," telepathically. This wasn't just a disaster. It was a tutorial on how to fumble progress. The league had a golden opportunity, record-breaking interest, rising player influence, an audience that actually gives a damn, and they responded with the emotional energy of a corporate HR seminar. The moment that meeting ended, WNBA group chats across the league combusted like popcorn in a microwave with no lid. Star players. Meanwhile, league PR was still sitting there blinking, thinking they'd wrapped up a productive sit-down with players. Quiet progress, they said. Constructive dialogue, they told the press. Meanwhile, half the players in the room were already crafting their exit tweets and texting their agents like, "Yeah, they really tried it." Somewhere in a WNBA headquarters conference room, someone actually said, "That went well," while 40 players were already halfway out the metaphorical door, dragging the league's credibility behind them.
All right. They standing on it. They are standing on it. They're letting it be known, hey, you guys are not taking us opting out serious. You guys have not made any updates, any upgrades to the things that we are asking for. I also saw on the StubBuzz live stream where they said, hey, that meeting was draining. It was a lot of information to take in. It was just a lot. It seems like it's a good thing that they got this out the way early so that the players can actually enjoy the All-Star weekend. I don't know, guys. Listen, I think we're headed for a strike and a lockout. I'm standing on it. I just don't see these owners budging. I really don't see the leverage that...
And then came Twitter. Oh, Twitter. If the league thought they could brush this under the rug, they clearly forgot who they were dealing with. Within hours, the cryptic tweets started pouring in like storm clouds before a media thunderclap. The tone? Equal parts fed up and fired up. These weren't just vent sessions, they were coded rallying cries. Fans picked up on it instantly. The dots connected like it was a conspiracy board in a true crime docuseries. You didn't need a press release, you just needed a Twitter timeline and a little common sense. No warm, fuzzy spin, just cold, crisp clarity. What went down in that meeting did not represent what players need, want, or will tolerate. Behind the scenes, agents were already sounding the alarm. A few reportedly started advising players to prepare for a long haul, aka buckle up for stalled talks, cold silences, and a potential standoff. And not the cool kind of standoff where someone wins a championship. This was more like the standoff where your league swerves into labor dispute territory and suddenly nobody's smiling anymore. Not on the court, not in the stands, and definitely not in the boardroom.
Negotiations are fully in effect as well. Let's take a look. We got an update. Y'all. Let's take a look at what the update is as far as the WNBA CBA negotiations update. Kathy Engelberg posted this. Let's take a look at it. It says earlier today, the Women's National Basketball Players Association and the Women's National Basketball Association met in person to discuss their ongoing negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. Alongside WNBPA staff and our CBA advisory team, more than 40 players, including all-stars, executive committee members, and player representatives attended.
And this is where it stops being funny. Because this wasn't just about a bad meeting in a bad room in Indiana. This was about a league at a make-or-break moment, with viewership climbing, merch flying off digital shelves, TikTok and ESPN highlights blowing up, and brands finally recognizing that women's basketball isn't just relevant, it's revenue. But here's the catch. You can't sell empowerment on TV and serve silence in negotiations. The disconnect is too loud now. When players showed up 40 deep, that's not a casual showing. They love cutting those promo videos about breaking barriers and investing in the future. But behind the curtain, the same players starring in those videos are having to still beg, for basic rights, real travel, real pay, real health protection, not we'll form a subcommittee answers, not maybe next quarter, just action. Because the players aren't smiling anymore, and they're done playing polite. They've taken the high road long enough that it's practically a walking trail at this point. But Indiana was the moment the GPS rerouted.
Caitlin Clark may be out injured, but the vibe's still very high at WNBA All-Star Weekend. You know, she's still a topic of conversation with the festivities being in Indianapolis, but a constant theme has been about just how big the presence is here, how many people are here, how much attention is around the game. Now, some of the subject of attention are Clark's injury and her being out and, helping Sandy Brondello out as a coach for Team Caitlin Clark in the WNBA.
So the next time you see a player post a vague emoji or suddenly rest a game or repost a meme about empty promises and tiny print contracts, just remember Indiana. Because if the league doesn't get serious soon, those 40 that showed up might become 100. And at that point, it won't be a meeting. It'll be a movement. Players want equity. The league offered increased alignment metrics. Players asked for support. The league offered vibes. Players demanded change. There's a storm brewing, and it started in Indiana, not with a fight, but with a collective exhale, a rejection, a very professional, very polite, very deadly no thank you. And the league better wake up, because if 40 players showing up together isn't a wake-up call, then what comes next won't be so quiet. Because the next CBA meeting, it won't be a meeting. It'll be a showdown, with receipts and maybe some popcorn. Because the players are done asking nicely, and if Indiana taught us anything, it's that they came ready to burn the script and write their own.